Have you ever gotten exactly what you wanted? And I don't just mean like a nice surprise. I mean something you chased for years.
Oh, right. Something you put real effort into.
Exactly. Like maybe it was a university degree that took thousands of hours of studying. Or, maybe it was a promotion at work that you sacrificed all your weekends for.
Or even just getting the keys to your very first apartment.
Yes, you get it, you hold it in your hands, and for a few golden minutes, everything feels absolutely perfect. You think to yourself, I finally made it.
Right.
But then maybe 2 days later, or even just a few hours later, you wake up and you feel this strange, restless feeling creeping back in.
Yeah, that familiar background worry is somehow still there.
Right. You look at the diploma on the wall or the new title on your desk and you ask yourself, why don't I feel perfectly happy right now? Like, I got the prize, I won the game, so what is missing?
It's really the ultimate human trap, isn't it? We actually call it the arrival fallacy.
The arrival fallacy.
Yeah. It's this deeply wired belief in our brains that once we arrive at a certain destination, all our problems will just, disappear.
But they don't.
No, they don't. We reach the top of the mountain, we look around, and instead of feeling this lasting peace, we just immediately start looking for the next mountain to climb. The brain simply resets the baseline.
The arrival fallacy. I love that term because it perfectly captures what we're unpacking in today's deep dive. We're looking at a stack of incredibly insightful writings, notes, and psychological observations today.
And they're all centered around one core theme, right?
Right. True peace. Specifically, we're exploring this really profound reality that peace does not actually come from the outside world.
Which is huge.
It is. It doesn't come from building what society calls a, perfect life.
Yeah.
And it certainly doesn't come from making sure every single person around you likes you.
Which is a very hard reality to accept, I think. Because if you think about it, almost every message we receive from the day we're born tells us the exact opposite.
Yeah.
We're constantly told to look outside.
Right. We're told that peace is something you purchase or achieve or earn from other people. But the source material we're digging into today flips that entirely upside down.
Completely upside down.
So the mission for our conversation today is to figure out why we constantly look for happiness in all the wrong places, why our brains are so easily tricked by external rewards, and most importantly, how we can actually build a lasting, unbreakable sense of calm inside ourselves.
And as we explore this with you today, I think it's important to remember that we aren't talking about becoming completely emotionless robots.
Right, no one wants that.
Exactly. We aren't talking about ignoring the real world. We're talking about understanding the mechanics of your own mind. Like, why do you feel restless? Why does anxiety return? Because once you understand the mechanism, you can actually start to change it.
Okay, let's jump right into the deep end here. The source text makes a very bold assertion right out of the gate. It states clearly, peace does not come from the outside. It doesn't come from getting what you want. It points out that people spend decades, sometimes their entire lives, searching for peace in very specific external things.
Yeah, we search for it in a higher paying job or a bigger house.
Or a romantic relationship, moving to a new city, or just building a life that looks really beautiful in photographs,
Let's look at the psychology behind that search, because it's fascinating. Why do we honestly believe that a house with a larger kitchen or a job title with the word director in it will magically cure our internal anxiety?
Why do we?
Well, it's because society gives us a very clear, very seductive formula.
Oh, the success formula.
Yes. Success plus possessions equals happiness.
Right. It's treated just like a math equation.
Exactly. If you get the right grades, and then you get the right job, and then you buy the right car and the right house, you will basically unlock peace.
It's like a video game.
Totally. We're trained to treat life like a video game.
Yeah.
If you collect enough gold coins and level up your character enough times, you win the game and you get to be happy forever.
But, I think everyone listening to this knows, logically, that money and objects don't buy happiness. It's a cliche. We've heard it a million times.
We have.
So my question is, if we know it's a cliche, why do we still fall for it every single day? Why do we still get stressed out about buying the newer car?
Because knowing something logically is very different from overriding your biology.
Oh, interesting.
What we're really dealing with here is the dopamine system in the brain. Dopamine is often called the reward chemical, but it's actually the anticipation chemical.
Wait, really? The anticipation chemical?
Yeah. Your brain releases dopamine when you are chasing a goal, not necessarily when you achieve it. The chase is what feels exciting. The brain says, if we just get that new job, everything will be perfect. It literally drives you forward.
So the brain is essentially tricking us to keep us moving.
Yes, exactly. From an evolutionary standpoint, a human who is always slightly dissatisfied and always looking for more resources is a human who survives.
That makes sense.
If our ancestors were perfectly content sitting in a cave with just one berry, they would have starved to death.
Right.
So our brains are wired for survival, not for lasting peace. We are basically running on an evolutionary treadmill. In psychology, they call it the hedonic treadmill.
The hedonic treadmill.
Yeah, you run and run toward a goal, you get the goal, you feel a brief spike of joy, and then your brain adapts. You're right back where you started, just running on a slightly fancier treadmill.
Wow, that explains so much. It's like when people trying to solve their problems by moving away, the text mentions people searching for peace in a different city or a new relationship.
The classic running away strategy.
Yes, if I just leave this boring town or, if I just move to a sunny beach, I will finally be happy.
Right.
But it never works. I actually had a friend who did exactly this. She was feeling really burnt out and unhappy, so she packed up everything and moved to a beautiful coastal city across the country.
Let me guess how that went.
Yeah. For the first 3 weeks, it was amazing. The beach was gorgeous, the food was new and exciting. But by week 4, she called me, and she sounded just as stressed and unhappy as before.
Because you take yourself with you.
Exactly.
This is the fundamental flaw in trying to change your internal state by changing your external geography. You can change your zip code, you can change your romantic partner, you can change your entire wardrobe. But if the root of your restlessness is lack of self-worth or, an inability to handle uncertainty, those things are packing their bags and moving to the beach right along with you. You're trying to escape your own uncomfortable feelings, not your physical location.
Let me push back on this just a little bit, though, because I want to make sure we aren't oversimplifying real life here.
Sure.
Isn't it just undeniably easier to feel peaceful if you are wealthy? I mean, if someone is working 3 jobs just to pay their rent and keep the lights on, they are going to be stressed.
Absolutely.
Getting a better, higher paying job would absolutely give them more peace, wouldn't it?
That is a brilliant point, and it forces us to make a very crucial distinction that the source material hints at. We have to separate 2 vastly different concepts here: comfort and peace.
Comfort and peace. Okay, break that down for me.
Comfort is the removal of physical struggle.
Yeah.
Having enough money to buy groceries without looking at your bank account balance, that's comfort.
Right.
Having a reliable car so you don't have to wait for a bus in the freezing rain, that's comfort. And comfort is highly valuable. We should all strive for a baseline of physical security. It makes the physical reality of your life easier.
So money buys comfort, not peace.
Exactly. Comfort is strictly external. Peace is strictly internal.
Oh, I like that.
A larger house is undeniably more comfortable, but it cannot quiet a racing mind at 3 a.m. A luxury car has softer leather seats, sure, but it cannot cure your fear of failure.
Right. The car doesn't care if you're anxious.
Exactly. You can sit on the most expensive ergonomic sofa in the world inside a massive mansion and still feel completely hollow, miserable, and anxious inside.
That distinction really clears things up. Because it's true, you see people online who have maximum comfort, but zero peace. Let's talk about the social media aspect, actually, because the text mentions searching for a life that looks beautiful from the outside. This is the modern trap, isn't it?
It is the ultimate distortion of reality.
Yeah.
When you open a social media app, you're looking at carefully edited highlight reels of other people's comfort.
Just the highlight reels.
Right. You see them on a yacht, or eating at a Michelin star restaurant, or smiling with a perfectly dressed family.
And immediately, your brain starts comparing. You look at your messy living room, you feel your own internal stress, and you think, I am failing.
But the comparison is rigged. You're comparing your messy, complex internal reality to their polished, 2-dimensional external image. You have no idea what's happening in their minds.
That's so true.
That person on the yacht might be going through a terrible divorce or suffering from severe anxiety, or they might be drowning in debt just to pay for the yacht. You're looking at their external comfort and assuming it equals internal peace.
That actually perfectly explains a phenomenon that always used to confuse me. We constantly see these highly successful people, A-list actors, billionaire CEOs, famous musicians who seem to have everything.
They've beaten the success formula completely.
Exactly. The world has handed them every external reward possible. Yet so many of them struggle deeply with addiction, depression, or just profound unhappiness.
It's the paradox of external success. And it transitions us perfectly into one of the most powerful concepts in our source material. The text says, even when the world gives you everything, your heart can still feel restless if you are not at peace within yourself.
That phrase, a restless heart, is so evocative. It describes that low-level hum of dissatisfaction that just never seems to turn off. But why? Like, if you have the $1 billion, if you have the fame, why is the heart still restless?
Because physical objects and external status cannot digest internal emotional needs.
Cannot digest them.
All right, think about it mechanically. If your core internal need is to feel safe or to feel truly seen and loved for who you are, a sports car cannot provide that. A car is an inanimate object made of metal, plastic, and glass. It has no capacity to love you.
So you buy the car, it doesn't fix the emotional hole, so you just assume you need a more expensive car.
Exactly, you stay on the treadmill. But the text goes beyond just objects. It points out another external thing we obsessively chase, which might be even more dangerous than chasing money.
Oh, what's that?
It says peace does not come from everyone liking you.
The relentless pursuit of approval. This is a big one. I think this is where most of us actually lose our peace on a daily basis.
It's deeply ingrained in us. Again, we have to look at the evolutionary biology here. Why do we care so much if a stranger on the internet or a coworker we barely know likes us?
Because thousands of years ago, if the tribe didn't like you, you were in big trouble.
Precisely. If you were rejected by your hunter-gatherer tribe, you were cast out into the wilderness alone, and you would likely die. So our brains developed an incredibly sensitive alarm system for social rejection. Being liked equaled survival. It's a biological imperative.
But the problem is, we aren't living in small tribes of 50 people anymore. We're interacting with hundreds, sometimes thousands of people. We have bosses, in-laws, neighbors, social media followers.
And this is where the pursuit of approval destroys inner peace. Because every single one of those people has a different set of expectations.
Right.
Your boss wants you to be aggressive and work late. Your partner wants you to be relaxed and present at home. Your friends want you to be the life of the party.
It's impossible.
It is. If your goal is to make everyone like you, you have to constantly change your personality to fit their expectations. You basically become a chameleon.
You fragment yourself. You slice yourself into a dozen different pieces to hand out to people.
And that is exhausting. You cannot possibly be at peace if you're constantly acting in a play, monitoring the audience's reaction.
Yeah.
Did my boss think that was smart? Did my friend think that joke was funny? Is my neighbor judging my lawn?
You're living in a state of high alert.
Exactly. Constantly scanning for threats of rejection.
It's like outsourcing your self-esteem to a committee of people who don't even really know you. You know, as I was reading this part of the source material, an analogy popped into my head that I think captures this perfectly.
I'd love to hear it.
So, trying to fix a restless, anxious heart by buying new things or by trying to get everyone to applaud for you, it's exactly like trying to fix a shattered smartphone screen by buying a really expensive, shiny new phone case.
Oh, I like that. Let's unpack that visual.
Right. So imagine you drop your phone face down on the concrete, you pick it up, and the glass screen is shattered into 100 sharp little pieces.
Yeah.
The internal mechanism is damaged. But instead of taking it to a repair shop to fix the actual glass, which, takes time and effort, you just go online and buy a beautiful gold-plated phone case.
You just focus on the outside.
Right. You snap the beautiful case onto the back of the phone. And if you're just holding it in your hand, showing the back to other people, it looks amazing. People walk by and say, wow, that's a gorgeous phone. You must be doing great. They're giving you approval. They are validating your external appearance.
But the moment you are alone and you actually turn the phone over to use it,
You cut your finger on the broken glass. You can't read your messages. The phone doesn't work. The real problem is still there underneath. The outside looks absolutely perfect to the rest of the world, but the inside is broken and painful to use.
that is a phenomenal way to picture the illusion of external success. We buy the shiny phone cases, the cars, the job titles, the perfect photos to hide the shattered glass of our own anxiety or insecurity.
And we see this play out in everyday life constantly. Just think about hosting a dinner party.
Oh, that's a classic example.
You invite 10 people over. You spend 3 days cleaning the house until it's spotless. You spend a fortune on expensive ingredients. You cook a massive meal. The guests arrive, and everyone is giving you the applause you wanted. The house looks like a magazine. The food is incredible. You are such a great host.
The world is giving you everything.
But if your inner glass is shattered, how do you actually feel during that party?
You're miserable.
You are. You spend the entire night trapped in your own head. You're worrying that the meat is slightly overcooked. You're monitoring the two guests at the end of the table who aren't talking much, convinced they are secretly bored.
Right, scanning for threats.
Exactly. You're already stressing about the mountain of dirty dishes in the kitchen. You are completely surrounded by praise and external validation, but you don't feel a single drop of peace.
Because you cannot absorb external praise if your internal state is chaotic. The shiny case doesn't fix the glass.
So, this brings us to a major turning point in our deep dive today. If we fully understand that the external things, the money, the titles, the phone cases, the dinner party compliments, if we know they do not generate peace, how do we actually build it?
That's the big question.
The source text tells us that peace is something we must build within ourselves. But what I found fascinating is that it doesn't start by telling us what to do. It starts by telling us what we must stop doing.
Yes, this is where the text moves from philosophy into very practical mechanics. We usually think of self-improvement as an act of addition. We think we need to add a new skill, add a new meditation routine, add more money.
Right, more is better.
But building peace is largely an act of subtraction. It's about dropping the heavy psychological baggage we're carrying around.
The text gives us 3 very specific behaviors we have to stop. It says peace begins when you stop fighting with what you cannot control, when you stop needing others to validate your worth, and when you stop carrying every opinion, every mistake, and every fear inside your heart.
Let's take those one by one because they are incredibly dense.
Good idea.
First, fighting what you cannot control. We need to understand why the human brain is so obsessed with control in the first place.
Yeah. Why do we want to control everything?
Because the brain is essentially a prediction machine. Its primary job is to predict what will happen next so it can keep you safe. If you can control your environment, your brain can predict the outcome and it feels secure.
Yeah, I see.
Uncertainty actually feels like a physical threat.
But the brutal reality of life is that we actually control almost nothing.
Exactly. We control our own thoughts, our own words, and our own actions. That's it. We do not control the weather. We do not control the economy. We do not control the traffic.
Definitely not the traffic.
Right. And most importantly, and this is the one that causes the most suffering, we absolutely do not control other people's actions, opinions, or feelings.
Well, we try so hard to control them. We argue, we manipulate, we stress ourselves out trying to make people act the way we want them to.
And it is completely exhausting. Fighting what you cannot control is like standing on the beach and trying to punch the ocean to stop the waves from crashing. It's a completely futile effort, and it drains every ounce of your energy. Think about being stuck in a massive traffic jam. You have an important meeting, you're going to be late.
Oh, the worst feeling. My heart rate goes up just thinking about it.
Most people sit in that traffic jam and they fight reality. They grip the steering wheel until their knuckles turn white. They swear at the cars in front of them. They honk the horn.
Guilty.
We all do it. They flood their bodies with stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline. They are violently rejecting a reality they cannot change.
But does all that anger make the cars move any faster?
No. The traffic remains exactly the same. The only thing they've accomplished is destroying their own internal peace. Dropping the need for control means sitting in that exact same traffic jam, recognizing you're going to be late, taking a deep breath and saying, I cannot control these cars. I will call my office, explain I'm delayed, and I'll use this time to listen to music. The external reality is identical. The internal reality is totally transformed.
That is powerful. It's the realization that your anger isn't a tool that fixes the world. It's just a weapon you're using against yourself.
That's a great way to put it.
Okay, let's move to the second thing we must stop doing. Needing others to validate your worth. We touched on this with the approval concept earlier, but let's go deeper. What are the actual mechanics of validating your worth?
Well, validation simply means confirming that something is legitimate, valuable, or true. When a parking attendant validates your ticket, they're saying, yes, this is good. So needing others to validate your worth means you do not intrinsically believe you have value.
Oh, that's heavy.
It is. You feel empty or inadequate, and you require someone outside of you to look at you and say, yes, you are smart enough, or yes, you are attractive enough.
And why is relying on that so dangerous to our peace? I mean, it feels nice when someone compliments you.
It feels wonderful. And there's nothing wrong with enjoying a compliment. The danger lies in needing it. Because here is the mechanical truth. When you wait for others to give you your value, you automatically give them the power to take your value away.
Oh, wow. Let me make sure I'm getting this. If my peace depends entirely on my boss telling me I'm a genius,
Then what happens on the day your boss is stressed out, in a bad mood, and heavily criticizes your work?
my entire sense of self-worth collapses.
Exactly. You are devastated. You've handed the keys to your internal emotional state to someone else. You're letting them drive your car. True peace begins when you reclaim those keys.
Reclaiming the keys.
Yes. It begins when you decide, I have inherent value simply because I am a human being. I am trying my best. I do not need a committee of external judges to prove my worth to me today.
Reclaiming the keys. That's such a vital step, and it flows perfectly into the third thing we have to stop doing. The text says we need to stop carrying every opinion, every mistake, and every fear inside our heart.
This psychological baggage.
Exactly. I have another analogy for this one to help visualize what we're actually doing to ourselves every day.
Excellent. I love your analogies.
Imagine you decide to go on a long hike up a beautiful mountain. The goal is to reach the top, enjoy the view, feel the sun on your face, and, experience some peace in nature. But right before you start walking, you strap a large, empty, heavy-duty backpack onto your shoulders.
Okay, I'm picturing it.
You start walking. 5 minutes in, you remember a comment a relative made about your life choices. Maybe they said, "Are you really going to stay in that career?" It was just an opinion. But instead of letting it go, you pick up a heavy rock from the trail, you label it Uncle John's opinion, and you drop it into your backpack.
That's going to get heavy quickly.
It gets much worse. A few miles later, you remember a mistake you made. You think about a relationship you ruined 3 years ago, or a terrible presentation you gave at work. You feel that wave of embarrassment. You pick up a massive rock, label it my past mistakes, and shove it into the bag.
Ouch.
And then as you keep climbing, you start thinking about the future. What if I lose my job next year? What if the economy crashes? What if I get sick? For every single fear, you pick up another rock and put it in the backpack.
By the time you're halfway up the mountain, you're completely exhausted.
You're sweating, your back is in absolute agony, your shoulders are bleeding, and you're staring straight down at the dirt, just trying to survive the next step. You can't see the trees, you can't feel the sun, and you certainly aren't experiencing any peace.
No peace at all.
And the craziest part, no one forced you to carry those rocks. You pick them up yourself.
That is a profound visualization of what we do in our daily lives. We carry immense psychological weight, and we wonder why we feel so exhausted by 2 p.m. every day. It isn't physical exhaustion, it's the weight of the rocks.
So how do we fix it?
Well, looking at your analogy, the solution is beautifully simple. To find peace on that hike, you do not need to go to the gym to get stronger muscles. You do not need to buy more expensive hiking boots. You do not need a better trail.
Right.
You simply need to unclip the backpack and let it fall to the ground. You have to actively choose to stop carrying the weight.
Let's talk about the mistakes rock specifically, because I think people really struggle to put that one down. We chew on our past mistakes constantly. In psychology, they call it rumination. Right?
Yes, rumination. Like a cow chewing its cud, bringing it back up to chew it again. We do this with embarrassing memories all the time. Say you send an email to a big client, and after you hit send, you realize there's a massive typo in the first sentence. It's unprofessional, it's embarrassing.
Oh, I've done that. It feels terrible in the moment.
It does. But instead of saying, wow, I made a mistake, I'll send a quick apology and proofread better next time, and then moving on, what do?
We carry the rock.
We carry the rock. We go home, we sit at the dinner table with our family, but we aren't really there. Mentally, we're still staring at the email. We lie in bed at midnight, staring at the ceiling, replaying the moment we clicked send.
It's awful.
The mistake is over, it's in the past, but we are keeping the suffering alive in the present.
We're basically sleeping with the heavy rock in our bed.
Exactly. So, dropping the baggage means acknowledging the mistake, learning whatever lesson is there, and then consciously refusing to carry the emotional weight of it into tomorrow.
Okay, so we've stopped fighting the traffic, we've reclaimed the keys to our self-worth, and we've taken off the heavy backpack of opinions, mistakes, and fears.
That's a lot of subtraction.
It is. But here's the challenge. The brain hates a vacuum. If we empty out all that anxiety and control, we have to fill that space with something else. Otherwise, we'll just start picking the rocks back up.
Yes. Nature abhors a vacuum, and so does the human mind.
This is where the source text brilliantly pivots from subtraction to mechanics. It gives us a positive instruction manual for what to do with our minds once the baggage is gone.
What does it say?
It says, peace begins when you learn to breathe through uncertainty, accept what has passed, trust what is coming, and be gentle with who you are today. Let's dissect this, starting with the physical act. Breathe through uncertainty. Why is breathing explicitly mentioned here?
Because the mind and the body are not separate. They're a single feedback loop. Uncertainty, not knowing what the future holds, is the default state of the universe. But as we discussed, our brains interpret uncertainty as danger.
Right.
When the brain senses danger, it activates the sympathetic nervous system.
The body's alarm system, fight or flight.
Exactly. And what is the very first physical symptom of the fight or flight response? Your breathing changes. It becomes rapid and shallow, mostly in your upper chest. Or in many cases, you literally hold your breath without realizing it.
I do that when I'm stressed.
Your muscles tense up. Your body is preparing to fight a tiger, even if the tiger is just an uncertain email from your boss.
So when the text says breathe through uncertainty, it isn't just poetic advice, it's an actual biological hack.
It's a manual override of your nervous system.
Yeah.
Deep, slow breathing, particularly exhaling longer than you inhale, stimulates the vagus nerve.
The vagus nerve.
Yes, the vagus nerve then activates the parasympathetic nervous system, which is the rest and digest state. It sends a chemical signal to your brain that says, we are safe. There is no tiger. So when you're facing the unknown, you don't panic. You literally use your breath to calm the physical machinery of your body.
That's fascinating. So you calm the body first so the mind can follow.
Exactly.
That leads us to the next two instructions, which are deeply connected. Accept what is past, trust what is coming. Why is this specific pairing so vital for inner peace?
Because it addresses the two places where human beings spend the vast majority of their mental energy. And neither of them is the present moment. Think about where your mind goes when it wanders. If you're constantly living in the past, obsessing over mistakes, holding grudges, wishing you could change history, the dominant emotion you will experience is sadness, regret, or depression.
Because you're fighting a battle that's already over. You can't change it.
Exactly. On the other hand, if you're constantly living in the future, trying to predict every possible disaster, worrying about what might go wrong next month, the dominant emotion you will experience is anxiety.
Sadness lives in the past. Anxiety lives in the future.
Precisely. So where does peace live? Peace can only exist in one place, the present moment, right here, right now. To anchor yourself in the present, you have to lock the doors to the past and the future.
How do you do that practically, though?
You accept what is past. That doesn't mean you have to be happy about terrible things that happened. It just means you stop arguing with reality. You say, it happened. I cannot rewind the clock. It is done.
Yeah.
That locks the door to the past.
And locking the door to the future.
You trust what is coming. You stop trying to play chess with the universe, trying to predict 50 moves ahead.
Let me stop you right there, because I think a lot of listeners might hit a wall with that phrase, trust what is coming. It sounds very nice if you're sitting on a quiet porch drinking tea on a Sunday morning.
Sure.
But how do we actually do that when the real world is objectively terrifying? Like if the economy is crashing or if someone in your family gets a scary medical diagnosis, how do you trust the future? That feels a bit like toxic positivity, just smiling while the ship sinks.
I am so glad you pushed back on that, because this is the most common misunderstanding of this concept. Trusting what is coming does not mean believing that everything in the future will be magical, easy, and painless. It's not toxic positivity. It's not pretending the ship isn't sinking.
Okay, then what are we actually trusting?
You aren't trusting the universe to give you a perfect life. You're trusting yourself.
Trusting yourself.
Yes. Trusting what is coming means trusting that whatever the future delivers, whether it's a beautiful success or a devastating hardship, you will have the strength, the resilience, and the capability to handle it when it arrives. Think about your track record.
My track record.
You have survived 100% of your bad days so far. You have navigated heartbreak, stress, and failure in the past, and you are still here.
Oh, wow. That shifts the entire perspective. It takes the pressure off the future needing to be good and puts the confidence in my own ability to survive it. I don't know what will happen tomorrow, but I trust myself to figure it out.
Exactly. That is true resilience. And it connects perfectly to the final piece of the text's instruction manual. And be gentle with who you are today.
Be gentle with who you are today. Out of everything we've discussed, that might be my favorite phrase. It's so deeply compassionate. What does that actually look like in practice?
Well, we're often our own worst critics. We speak to ourselves in a harsh, demanding voice that we would never use with a friend.
That's very true.
We berate ourselves for not being further along in our careers, for not being smarter, for making mistakes, or even for not being perfectly peaceful yet.
Right. Why am I still anxious? I should be better at this. We get anxious about being anxious.
Right. Being gentle with who you are today means applying self-compassion. It means looking in the mirror and saying, I am a human being. I am doing my absolute best with the tools I have. I am not perfect. I still lost my temper in traffic yesterday. I still picked up a heavy rock of worry this morning. But I am learning, I am growing, and I'm allowed to be a messy work in progress.
It's treating yourself like a friend. If a good friend came to you and said, I messed up at work today, I feel terrible, you wouldn't say, you're a failure, you always ruin everything.
No, of course not.
You'd say, it's okay, everyone makes mistakes, you'll do better tomorrow. We just need to turn that voice inward.
Precisely. Let's look at a comprehensive example of how all these mechanics work together. Imagine someone who just received terrible news. Say they were unexpectedly fired from their job.
That is massive uncertainty, total panic mode.
Normally, the brain would spiral. They'd panic about the future, which is anxiety. They'd beat themselves up for every mistake they made at work, which leads to depression. They'd feel they lost their value, looking for validation. But if they apply these mechanics...
How does it change?
First, they breathe. When the panic about paying rent hits their chest, they take a deep physiological breath to calm their nervous system. Then, they accept what has passed. They don't spend 3 weeks denying that they were fired or plotting revenge against their boss. They accept the reality. I no longer have this job. Next, they trust what is coming.
Meaning they trust themselves to handle it.
Yes. Not by magically thinking a better job will fall from the sky tomorrow, but by trusting their own resilience. I have skills. I know how to write a resume. It'll be hard, but I will figure this out.
And finally, they are gentle with themselves.
Yes. They don't call themselves a failure. They say, this is a really hard day. It is okay that I am tired and scared. I'm going to rest tonight and start fresh tomorrow.
Notice what happened in that example. Their external world is in total chaos. They lost their livelihood. But their internal world remains stable and peaceful because of how they processed it.
Exactly. They did not let the external chaos shatter their internal glass.
Which is the perfect bridge to the final major theme of our source text today. Taking this inner peace out into the real world. Because building peace isn't about becoming a monk, moving to a cave in the mountains and ignoring society. It's about how you stand in the middle of a very loud, very messy world.
And this is where I deeply respect the source material. It's remarkably grounded in reality. It doesn't sell a fairy tale.
It says the world may never be completely quiet. People may never fully understand you. Life may never go exactly as planned. But if your heart is calm, you can stand in the middle of chaos and still not lose yourself.
So much self-help material today is built on a fantasy. It promises that if you just think enough positive thoughts or visualize your success, the universe will just bend to your will. People will always be kind to you, you will always be healthy, and you will get everything you want.
Which we all know from painful experience is simply false.
It is demonstrably false. The text we're studying today acknowledges the hard, abrasive truth. The world is loud and often unfair. No matter how clearly you communicate, people will misunderstand your intentions. No matter how carefully you organize your spreadsheet, your plans will fall apart.
So the goal isn't to fix the world or force the world to be quiet.
No, the goal is to not lose yourself in the process.
Not lose yourself. Let's unpack the mechanics of that. What happens when we do lose ourselves in the chaos?
When your environment becomes chaotic, it's incredibly easy to fall victim to emotional contagion. We have mirror neurons in our brains that naturally want to mimic the emotions of the people around us.
Right, mirroring.
If someone starts yelling at you aggressively, your mirror neurons and your fight or flight system kick in, and your immediate instinct is to yell back louder.
You absorb their chaos.
Yes, you become the chaos. If your travel plans are ruined by a canceled flight, you fall into a rage, you yell at the airline staff, you ruin your family's day, you have lost yourself. Your environment dictated your internal state. But if you have cultivated that inner calm, if you have dropped the backpack and learned to breathe, that calm becomes an anchor.
An anchor in a storm.
The storm is raging around you. The waves are crashing over the boat. The wind is howling. But because your anchor is dropped deep into the ocean floor, your boat does not drift away and crash into the rocks. You observe the storm without becoming the storm.
I have a visual for this that I always use when life gets crazy. It's the concept of being the eye of the hurricane.
Oh, that's a fantastic meteorological analogy.
If you look at satellite footage of a massive hurricane, The outer bands of the storm are pure, violent chaos. You have 150-mile-per-hour winds, torrential rain, lightning, total destruction. It's incredibly loud. That outer band represents the world. That's the canceled flights, the rude coworkers, the economic stress, the misunderstandings.
But the center,
Right in the dead center of the storm, the eye of the hurricane, the physics totally changed. The air is completely still. The sky is clear. You can even see the sun or the stars. The storm is violently spinning all around it, but the center is untouched and perfectly calm. The goal of inner peace isn't to stop the hurricane. The goal is to become the eye of it.
you maintain the stillness in the center while the wind blows around you. Let's ground this in a very practical, everyday scenario. Not a huge life crisis, just a normal, annoying daily struggle. Imagine you're at a massive grocery store on a holiday weekend.
Oh, the ultimate test of inner peace.
It truly is. The parking lot is full. The store is packed. Shopping carts are crashing into each other. People are aggressive. Children are crying in the aisles. The fluorescent lights are buzzing. And when you finally get all your groceries, the checkout line stretches all the way to the back of the store. It's a mini hurricane of human chaos.
Most people in that line are losing their minds. They're sighing loudly, checking their watches every 10 seconds, tapping their feet, radiating stress.
Because they're fighting what they cannot control. They are carrying the heavy rock of frustration. They want to yell, "Everyone hurry up and get out of my way."
So how does the person who has built inner peace handle that same exact checkout line?
They recognize the reality of the situation. I am in a very long line. I cannot make the cashier scan items faster. Getting angry will not change the physics of the line. So they accept what is past. They accept they came to the store at a busy time. They drop the need for control.
And then they breathe.
Yes. Instead of checking their phone anxiously, they take a deep, slow breath to signal safety to their nervous system. They feel their feet solidly on the floor. They look around, maybe notice a funny magazine cover, or just enjoy a moment of doing absolutely nothing.
That sounds nice, actually.
They are physically standing in the exact same chaotic environment as the stressed person next to them, but internally, they're in the eye of the hurricane. They haven't lost their temper. They haven't lost themselves. They kept their heart calm.
That is such a powerful, practical example. It proves that peace isn't this mystical thing you only find while meditating alone on a mountaintop in silence for a month. If it only works in a cave, it isn't very useful. Real peace is something you could access in the checkout line at the grocery store.
Because you didn't rely on the grocery store to be quiet. You brought the quiet with you. You built it inside.
This brings us perfectly to the synthesis of our entire journey today. Let's retrace our steps and look at the whole picture of what we've uncovered in this deep dive. We started by looking outside. We examined the societal success formula, the belief that getting the bigger house, the fancier job title, or a new zip code would finally silence our restless hearts.
And we learned about the hedonic treadmill. We realized that pursuing external comfort to solve internal anxiety is like putting a beautiful shiny gold case on a smartphone with a shattered screen.
Right.
It looks great to the neighbors, but the internal machinery is still broken and painful.
Then we realized that to actually build peace, we have to start by subtracting. We have to drop the incredibly heavy psychological backpack we force ourselves to wear.
We have to stop punching the ocean by fighting what we cannot control. We have to take back the keys to our self-worth by no longer outsourcing our validation to other people. And we have to stop ruminating on past mistakes and future fears.
Once we put the heavy rocks down, we fill that space with the mechanics of peace. We use our physical breath to calm our nervous system through uncertainty. We lock the doors to the sadness of the past and the anxiety of the future so we can actually live in the present moment. We trust our own resilience to handle whatever comes.
And we commit to being gentle, compassionate, and kind to ourselves as we navigate this messy human experience.
Which ultimately allows us to become the eye of the hurricane. We can stand in a loud, chaotic, unpredictable world without absorbing the chaos and without losing our core self.
The source text we explored today leaves us with one final, incredibly resonant thought. I think it serves as the ultimate memorable takeaway for this entire conversation.
What does it say?
It says, do not wait for everything outside to become perfect before allowing yourself to feel peace. Start within. Because true peace does not come from what happens around you. It comes from what you choose to protect inside you.
What you choose to protect inside you. That is profound. It shifts the power completely back to the individual. So, I want to leave you, the listener, with a final provocative thought to mull over today. I want you to think about one specific thing in your life right now that you are actively waiting for.
We all have one, the "I will finally be peaceful when" statement.
Exactly. Maybe you are telling yourself, I will finally relax when I get this new job. Or maybe it's, I will finally be happy when my partner apologizes to me for that argument. Or I will have peace when I lose 10 pounds. Or when I pay off this specific credit card.
You're holding your own peace hostage, demanding a ransom from the external world.
Yes. So here is the question. What if you stopped waiting? What if you realized today that the outside world is never, ever going to be perfectly organized? The to-do list will never be completely empty. Someone will always disagree with you. What if today you simply gave yourself permission to feel peace right now, exactly as things are?
You don't need the perfect job, the perfect house, or the perfect apology to put the heavy backpack down. The straps aren't locked. You could just take it off.
You really can. You have the power to step into the eye of the hurricane this very second. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive today. We hope this exploration of the mind brought a little bit of stillness and clarity to your day. Remember, the world is always going to be loud, but your heart doesn't have to be. Protect your inner calm today. We will see you next time.